Viki is a character who has appeared in all of the main games in the series, unknowingly teleporting through time and space. Because of this, her timeline is a bit of a mess, but let's see if we can't untangle it a little bit. First, we're going to need some sort of anchor point, and thankfully, the first and second game provides one for us. Both the games, through things like Richmond's investigations and developer commentary, tells us that Viki teleported away from the victory party at the end of the first game and reappeared 3 years later on the path to Matilda during the second game, knife and fork in hand. At the end of the second game, she drinks too much champagne and once more teleports away during the victory celebration. Now, this is where things get a bit tricky. Both Suikoden and Suikoden 3 make it sound like she came straight there from Suikoden 2, which obviously can't both be true. When you encounter her in 3, she says she came from the city-states of Joustin and that there was supposed to be a big feast, indicating that she came straight from the victory celebration of the Dunan Unification War. But in Suikoden, she falls on Nash while he's traveling to Crystal Valley, apparently straight from the feast with food in hand, and Millie and Meg even comment on this, and their conversation makes it clear that she came straight from the party. So what's going on? Well, simply put, Suikoden 3 being a bit vague about the details is probably because of the low sales of Suikoden Volume 2. Volume 2 is estimated to only have sold about 40,000 copies, despite being re-released twice. In comparison, Suikoden 2 and 3 sold around 400,000 copies each, and that's not including the remaster of 2. Making too many direct references to a side story that only 10% of your player base knows about is probably not the greatest idea, so Suikoden 3 obfuscates the facts a bit. However, the devil is in the details, so we can use those to conclude that the correct order is Suikoden and then 3. When she appears in 3, she's not holding any food or utensils, and she speaks about the big meal as if it hasn't happened yet. However, the ending of 2 states it had already started. This lines up with her appearance in Suikoden though, and she's even wearing the same clothes she did during 2. 3 also includes a letter from Viki, meant for Nash, but accidentally sent to the player, where she apologizes for the events and wonders if he got back home safely in the end. In Japanese, it's worded vaguely enough that it could refer to something that happened off-screen, and that's apparently how the translator interpreted it. But if you have played Suikoden, you'll understand the reference. As for why she said she came from the city-states of Joustin, well, no one actually told her they were in Harmonia during Suikoden, and the big meal she talks about could be anything that happened after parting ways with Nash. So far we've established that her timeline goes in order of game releases. Sadly, this is where that stops. Her appearance in Suikoden 4 is impossible to place on the timeline simply because there are absolutely no references to any other game as far as Viki is concerned. She has a bath scene with Jean where she mentions that it feels familiar, but that doesn't help because she doesn't have any bath scenes with Jean in any other game. It could just reference the bath in general, but that doesn't narrow it down and only establishes that she has met Jean before. One thing that could be said is that she appears somewhat less ditzy and scatterbrained in 4, which could indicate that she's a younger version, but that might just as easily be because of the, less than average quality of the game's writing. So that leaves 5. And while her appearance can't firmly be placed on the timeline, we at least know it comes before Suikoden 1. We know this because in Suikoden, during her adventure with Nash, Meg, and Millie, they accidentally travel all over the timeline, encountering several people in the past and future before eventually ending up in Felina's Twilight Ruins just as Lorelei and Killy get stuck there with no way out. While Viki recognizes Lorelei, Lorelei has no idea who Viki is, because from Lorelei's perspective, this is the first time they meet. Eventually, Bonaparte comes crashing through the ceiling, creating the big hole seen in Suikoden 5 when going through the ruins. This scene gets referenced several times in Suikoden 5, but crucially, Viki denies anything of the sort happening because it hasn't happened to her yet, making the Viki in 5 the earliest version we know of. However, there is no way of telling where she came from or where she went after the game, as there are no details beyond this. Which means there could be any number of theoretical games like Star Leap, before or after 5, before she ends up in the first game, making the timeline fluid. So with that, we partially know how Viki moves through the timeline, and it remains to be seen if Starleap will be filling in any of the blanks, or if it will just make the timeline even more muddled. But for now, only time can tell.